Robert Plank Show, Episode 301. Market yourself as an authority figure, clean up your social presence, and build a service people use with Anthony Couch. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Anthony Couch from GetSuitable.co, and he's going to tell us a lot of cool stuff. So, Mr. Anthony, how are things today?
I'm doing great. Things are really busy.
Awesome.
Robert, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So busy is good. So we're gonna get to lots of cool action-packed stuff because people listening are busy too. So what it is that you do, and what is this Get Suitable thing?
Yeah, so what we did with Get Suitable is create a parent company, an umbrella company, if you will. And so what we want to do is create applications for consumers that essentially make data meaningful and actionable for consumers. For instance, we want to build something that's going to allow, homeowners to vet contractors before they are allowed in the home to perform work, employers to be able to vet contractors, employees, things of that nature. Right now, we're having fun with Cache. That's our first brand that we launched, and Cache helps individuals clean up their social media presences of things that they've been tagged in or things they've posted that may be inappropriate or detrimental to a hiring manager's decision. And once we have all that eliminated, we give them things that is more goal specific for them to like and post and tweet about and generally engage themselves in, that are more related to their minor or major in high school, college, or their current career field. So we're having fun with that.
Awesome, cool. So Cache. So how does this work exactly? Like it just like scans a person's whole like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, and just gives a whole list of things that are tagged and things like that to clean up.
That's spot on. That's spot on. When we once Cache has access to our users' Facebook and Twitter accounts, it's almost instantaneously. It's 60 seconds, and you have a complete profile. And inside that profile shows everything that was marked inappropriate, that could be inappropriate, and then allow you to make the decision from there whether you would like us to delete that content or mark it private, things of that nature.
Awesome. So is this like a web app or an Android app or iPhone, or how do people use this thing?
Yeah. So right now we're on web services. We launched our first beta about 6 months ago, and we got some really great, solid feedback. So we pulled it away, and we're making some improvements now. We should be ready to launch again within the next 3 weeks, I believe.
Awesome. So when you are launched, how do people find that? Like, is it spelled in a certain like kind of weird way, like some of these apps are, or how do people locate this app once it's back?
You know, that's a great question, because the name of the application, the brand is Cache, and sometimes we've had people mispronounce it as cachette. So it's spelled Cache, more of like a prestigious, honorable, and meaningful, right? But right now, so our website for Cache is soCachet.com, and that's SOCACHET. And right now, we're promoting Cache through universities here in the tri-state area, Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, working with a few nonprofits who go out now and perform presentations at high schools and colleges, spend time with college students in general, anyone who's looking to get into the workforce, and should be using their social media a little bit more appropriately.
Awesome. And so as you're sort of pitching this to, universities and career-minded people and things like that, do you come across any difficulty in like making it exciting? Because like, even just like sort of the way that it's explained, like, oh, it goes back and like cleans up all your old social media stuff, like it doesn't sound like the most sexy thing in the world. So have you come across any sort of difficulties like that?
Yeah, our main difficulty was that, uh, like, keeping users, right? That's the goal. And so we have to have something that they love, whether it's pretty or not, but you're spot on. It's got to be something that they love to use, that it's worth using. We've got to be solving a problem 24 hours a day, and if we're not, then we're not, we're going to have a much higher attrition rate. So no, we're still working on how exactly we're going to keep things interesting for our users. And the good part about that is we exercise a lean startup methodology, philosophy within the company and within this brand. So we're able to get feedback really quickly. We speak to a lot of students, a lot of users daily, so we get a lot of feedback.
Awesome. And so you mentioned so far that like you speak to some of your existing users, and you and your team like you give presentations at different universities and stuff. And is that the way that you get traffic and you get people using the app, just sort of like one presentation at a time, sort of thing?
Yes, yes. So right now, word of mouth has been our main marketing driver. We don't want to keeping our user base to a minimum is going to allow us to make it's going to allow us to be very agile with the product. So we'll be able to make improvements quicker and more in line with customer needs. So we haven't launched a social media campaign or really an official marketing campaign at all.
Okay, cool. And that sort of seems like that's a cool way to kind of, like you said, like you're still perfecting it, you're still talking to users, and it seems like that also kind of keeps things exclusive, because it just sort of reminds me of Facebook. Like those first couple of years on Facebook, you couldn't join unless well, I mean, early Facebook you couldn't join unless you were like Harvard or something, right? But then those a few years later, you can only join if you could like prove that you are a university student. You had to have like a .edu email address, and then they kind of rolled it out from there and there. And the way that they did that kind of made me wonder if they had come out of the gate and tried to be everything to everybody, then they wouldn't really have stood out and would have had some trouble getting people to adopt it. But then by kind of narrowing themselves to just this one kind of user base, then they can kind of get all the kinks worked out and then get people kind of hooked on it and then expand it. So is that kind of your guys' strategy, just kind of starting with the universities and then kind of moving out to more general audiences and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We need to build a product that our customers or ideal users want, instead of building something that we have to sell them on. So yeah, we're starting from scratch, and we're gonna build this thing around their needs and expectations, most importantly.
Awesome. So people who are like college students or university level people, and are people who are career minded, have all this maybe stuff on social media that they were tagged in or is inappropriate or they just don't know about. So your app kind of shows all that and it gets them to sort of filter it out and stuff like this. So how did this whole idea come? Like, where did this come from? Like, it sounds like it solves kind of an interesting need, but how did you even come up with this idea in the first place?
Working with a Fortune 500 company, I realized it was kind of it bothered me that I was working with employees, my fellow coworkers, and just kind of our culture did not fit. Right, their culture did not fit the company, and I thought that if my employer knew, maybe the company could save money. We could get someone in here who loves their job, who this is actually what they want to do, right? So we essentially wanted to allow, I wanted to do something for my employer that would allow them to make a better hiring decision than what they were doing. And turns out we were a little too soon for that market. Though we did see in the 70s and 80s riots in the streets over criminal background checks, right? And then a few years later, it was financial background checks. Social media background checks they're right around the corner. We're just a little too soon. So we pivoted and went towards Cache. We got a lot more feedback from the employee side of things. A lot more hate mail, right? They didn't like the idea that we were going to help employers find this stuff. So we thought, hey, you know what? Let's help people remove, the inappropriate things, and help them build their brand. So a very small part of what Cache does is remove the negative content. But I think the most important thing to leave here is that Cache is here to build consumer, individual brands, professional brands, independent brands. So right now, I mean, if I'm a marketing expert and I apply for marketing positions, my social media doesn't really need to reflect what I did on spring break or how I'm doing my hair today or what I'm wearing and things like this. It needs to show the world, society in general, that I'm on my game, that I read every day, and my everything, my social footprint is all about my work. I take it seriously and I love what I do. So it needs to reflect that, and that's our ideal customer.
Awesome. So, sort of along those lines, so we're mentioning that we're talking about how people need to kind of build that brand, and if someone checks up on us, then they see that we've posted a lot of content on that exact thing. Like you said, if someone's like a social media consultant like yourself, then someone checks your Facebook page, they see all this stuff, and so are there some sort of steps or some kind of like a checklist everyone should be doing to kind of achieve that goal? Like, should people be, vlogging every day, or should there be like a certain number of like posts every day, or what should people be doing to kind of get that brand to be consistent on their social media?
Yeah, that's a great question. Without cachet, right now things are a little bit barbaric the way it has to happen. But I would strongly advise those who are really understand the importance of a social presence and how it can reflect the outcome of a lot of issues later down the road with employment. Um, is that yes, whatever you do for a living, you have got to have your social presence reflect you as a professional, right? So, I mean, even all the way to Facebook, which is more of like your culture, right? Who you are and what you believe in. Whereas a LinkedIn is more about what you have accomplished in the past and what you're capable of. Um, Twitter's the same way. What do you promote and what are you liking and what are you favoriting and what are you retweeting? And all of this really needs to reflect your cultural fit within society. And your cultural fit, again, will blend in with the right employer and right company. So I would suggest to stop reading content that is inappropriate, that's not goal specific, and start reading things that are more in line with your professional interests, right? Or hobbies, things like this, and not so much about what we do with our, every 10 minutes and things of that nature.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned a few times that people should be reading, and then as far as getting that to show up on social media, is it just a matter of should people be just saying like, okay, I started on this book, or should they be posting like every day or every week with some kind of insights, or like how much, I guess, content are we talking about here?
Well, I mean, it depends on how serious you take your life, right? I mean, if you're going to read a book and it takes you a week to read a book, let let the world know. Say, hey, I'm going to start this new book, and at the end of the week, say this was a great book and promote it, or don't say, but don't say that it was a horrible book and you're not going to promote it. Leave some kind of trail that yes, you're making progress. I'm reading this book. I read this, or I read this content. It was so on point with what I do, and every marketer should read this. I'm going to share it. Um, yeah, more along those lines, just kind of filling themselves with appropriate, positive content and
Awesome.
sharing that same content.
Cool. So don't be a hater. Don't be saying, "Oh, I tried this book and this book sucks," or "I started this book and didn't finish it." So be positive about it and stuff like that. And so you mentioned a little bit about sharing there. And so how much should we be kind of getting out there? Should we just be posting on our own page? Should we be like resharing other people's stuff? Should we be like posting on other people's profiles? Like, I mean, have you seen anything like that where maybe people like are people like not getting out enough, or are they getting out too much, or like how much of that sort of sharing and doing stuff on other people's social media territory should we be doing?
Yeah, so I mean, it just depends on a individual's preference, right? So if someone is more outgoing and more likely, they're gonna be more likely to share content with their friends and their followers, whereas someone else who doesn't share so much content could or should be retweeting the content. So I mean, you can share something and add a note to it, or you can just kind of just share something and that's it, right? And it's just a preference, but it does not hurt to put content when you share something, an opinion, right? Your personal view on what you just read and why you are feeling that, it's something that other people would be interested in.
Okay, cool. And then, so sort of along those lines of like uh, being on brand, I guess, and sharing like the progress that you're making in your career and stuff like that. Have you seen anyone kind of have I guess trouble getting the likes and the shares and the retweets on the nerdy stuff? Because I've noticed like if I like repost an article that I read on like Business Insider, or if I write a blog post and share it, then it's tough to even get one or two likes. And then if I share some kind of like crazy viral video that really doesn't have anything to do with what it is that I do, then it'll get like a ton of likes and shares and comments and stuff like that. So have you kind of seen any trouble with that, where like the viral, silly, sort of waste of time stuff gets all the attention, but then the nerdy, I guess like job related stuff doesn't?
Yeah, yeah, that's weird how that happens, right? You share things that you think people should, that they would actually enjoy reading, but they don't, right? They may like it, but the interactions are low, right? The analytics show that they don't even read it, but they'll like it or they'll retweet it. Um, no, I think if you're looking for likes and retweets, it's very important. It's imperative that you put hashtags, you include hashtags. So I had a hashtag great hashtag interview on the hashtag Robert at Robert Plank show. And we talked about hashtag entrepreneurship, hashtag startups, and hashtag Missouri, right? And startup Cincy or what have you. So hashtags are very important to get your name out there and to get followers. Um, and I mean, that's great because I mean, you're going to get someone who's going to follow you. And if you follow them back, they're going to share some kind of content that you are going to find meaningful. So it's good, it's important that we connect with one another, rather. So yeah, knowing how to hashtag and knowing how to get the attention and the likes and the follows is important. But I mean, not for a hiring manager's decision, right? It's solely about, how does your social presence reflect you as an individual, what, professionally and culturally within a company.
Right. And so to use those hashtags correctly, I mean, do you have a secret to that? Like, there a tool that maybe shows like the popular hashtags, or do you recommend people kind of look at other people's tweets to see those popular hashtags, or how do we kind of figure out what to use in our tweets and our Facebook posts and stuff like that?
Yeah, so generally, whatever you're wanting to post about, there's always a keyword in there, and it's okay. Great is not a keyword, but it's something that whoever looks up great is going to see that because someone is looking for great content when they look up a hashtag great, so they expect to see really great things. But if you're talking about marketing or you're talking about cars or race cars or spring break, hashtag spring break, it's important that you include those hashtags. Um, or else you're just sharing it on your page and a lot of people don't see those interactions and if you're adding the close to appropriate hashtags, then you're more likely to get more followers. You're more likely to see more content that is more relevant and what your interests are. But there's really no secret sauce. I mean, I'm not a marketing expert. um, but that is something that we want to do with Cache. It's going to be important that we're able to do that because we also look at it as we want to kind of save consumers time. Individuals spend a lot of time on social media, posting, tweeting, reading, and so on. So if we can build Cache out to be able to post for our users and create the appropriate hashtags, we'll be able to help our users build their brand much faster and accurately than what they can probably do themselves.
Yeah, that'd be super awesome, like an auto hashtag tool or something like that. And so, so this cache tool, I mean, does it read like a bunch of different social media platforms? Because you mentioned so far like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. I mean, does it like check Instagram, or like what platforms does cache look at as far as cleaning up that social media?
Right now, we only have Facebook and Twitter. The APIs are a little bit restricted on what we can do, which is really good. and they allow us to use their third-party security as well. So that is encrypted and integrated into our software, so it's even better. Um, but right now, those are the only two platforms we have. We're looking to get integrate LinkedIn next, and then Instagram, and then kind of go from there. LinkedIn's going to be an important one. It's
Awesome.
important that we're not. Yeah.
Right, and right, because especially like you said, if people are looking to get employment, then LinkedIn, yeah, you can't have a bunch of crap on there. And so those four you mentioned, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, are those the four social media platforms that everyone should be focusing all their time on, or should they give like more attention to one, or are there others besides the four that people should
Uh,
like be paying attention to?
yeah, Instagram has created a lot of uproar in our industry. Employers are foaming at the mouth to see what's on individuals' Instagrams and Snapchats, right? It's a little shameful. So, I mean, I would suggest to kind of stay away from it a little bit, more. I mean, you're sharing pictures, and I mean, as long as it's appropriate, right? And it's okay. And there's platforms out there like Hootsuite where you can share, you can upload a photo with some content, and it would share uh, that content all across four or five or however many platforms that you have. It would do it all at once, so you don't have to spend, 20 minutes sharing the same thing on four different platforms.
Awesome. And then so yeah, that's a really cool time saver just so that people don't have to go and maintain all these presences and stuff like that. And so we're kind of starting to run out of time here, but we mentioned about all these things that people should be doing. They should be using Cache at socache.com when it comes out. They should be cleaning up that profile because you don't want those employees or future employers to be looking at your social media presence. You should be using Hootsuite to post on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Probably like reading books in your field and stuff like that, and using hashtags so that people can see that you know what you're doing. And so, kind of putting all that aside, have you been seeing like a number one universal mistake people make when it comes to social media and that kind of stuff?
Um, I all I can say, is we all make mistakes, and for the majority of our users, again, they're our ideal customers, so we're going for people who don't typically have too much negative content or pictures and emojis and things like this. So no, we haven't seen too much of it, but we plan to see a lot of flagged, a lot more activity when we start to acquire users who are not, our ideal customers. When we're building out a user base the way we are, it's important that we have the right users who do things appropriately, because we are not just we can't be known as just a scrubbing tool. So once we clean up our users' social media, it's important, and we hold our users accountable for the content that they post. So if they continue to post inappropriate negative content, they'll be removed from the community. So they don't directly affect our other users.
Well, what does that mean exactly? Because you just mentioned that you don't want Cache to be just a scrubbing tool. So if someone if you get once you expand, if you get these users that just like keep posting tons and tons of just garbage on their profile, why is it that you're kicking people out? Like, what does that mean that it's affecting the rest of your community?
So employers outsource to third-party other companies that will do really great background checks on candidates, and they know whether an employee is a user of a platform that helps them clean up their social media. Because there are other companies out there, competitors of Cache, um, who that's what they do, right? That's their job, is to delete that negative content, and but they do it and they promote their company like, hey, that cool crazy thing you did last night, don't worry, we got your back, we're going to clean it up for you, kind of scenario. And if an employer gets that when he receives that report back and says that you're a part of something that cleans up your social media, it just looks bad. From what we've got the feedback from our employers, they said that they're more likely not to hire someone when they can't view their profile or can't make any sense of it, right? They must have something to hide, or like it's unheard of that no one has a social media or that you can't see what they do on social media. If
Okay,
that
so
answered.
so people need to have social media, and if it's blank or protected, that's super suspicious. And are you also saying that is there a way for employers to see if people are using your tool? And is that where you're also saying is that if employers like see that someone's using Cache, then that sort of seems suspicious to them?
Well, I think if employers see that they're using our competitors, it will look suspicious, simply because of the message that our competitors put off. Whereas Cache sends a message to professionals. We say, hey, it's we're grown up now. Let's be professional and let's grow a brand together. Let's not just pay for a service and we just clean up everything you do that's wrong. Because I'm not interested in that. I'm not passionate about helping people hide who they are. I'm passionate about helping people not lose out on opportunities for things that they did years ago. A lot of friends and I have lost a lot of. I mean, we all have that friend who's lost an opportunity because of what they've done on a social media, whether it be a football player or basketball player. We see it on the news all the time, and just that's what I'm passionate about. I don't care much for cleaning up people's stuff and keeping it clean. I
Right.
like to build brands. Positive, positive. I love it.
Right, makes a lot of sense. So, in the spirit of all that, I mean, what do you and your company kind of have planned for the future? Like you said that you're in the next few months you're going to be rolling out this tool, and then once you kind of get more and more people using it, any like cool features planned or any cool like kind of ways to make this even better and make it more than, as you said, more than just a way to hide?
Uh, Other than what I've disclosed so far, can't really say much more. We've got this list of features, and we just kind of get check marks on them based on what our users actually say that, hey, this is cool, I would use this, or this is cool, but I would never use it, right? So as long as we're getting that feedback and we'll implement a neat little feature for a week here and a week there and kind of gain that feedback. And that is essentially what determines what features that we apply later down the road.
Awesome. That's a pretty good way of doing things, it sounds like, where you started off kind of doing the opposite of what you're doing now and helping employers, figure out what people are hiding on their social media accounts. And then you kind of pivoted and then changed it to people to clean up their stuff. And then now you're kind of, you found this audience of university students and people like that who are looking for employment and kind of going place to place to build that audience. And then as you're growing the audience and as you're getting the software, fixed and ready to go and stuff like that, you're also listening to them and figuring out what features they want as opposed to just thinking of a bunch of features because that seems like that's a really easy trap to fall into, that to kind of make the huge long to-do list and then kind of looking at once you get like 100 items saying, oh well, these 20 things would be really quick and easy and fun for the programmers, but then now you're just kind of piling in 20 things nobody wants, no one asked for, no one's using. So it's a pretty cool way of doing it instead of what it sounds like where you kind of made the base software and then as far as the features they're based on what people are actually asking for and not just what's kind of what you're just kind of making up off the top of your head. So really cool stuff there. And we mentioned so Cache is this tool at socache.com, and then there's Get Suitable at getsuitable.co. So if someone is listening to our conversation today, out of these sites, like should someone go to one of these sites, or is there a special page someone should go to, or if someone listens to our conversation today and they like your thought process and your tool and stuff like that, where should they go to find out more about you and your company?
Well, you can learn more about Cache on socache.com. And we have a video on there. We've got some pictures of the platform, and there's a place there where you can ask questions. You can sign up for the beta and just generally learn a little bit more about what we do with Cache. And you can join or visit getsuitable.co. That's the parent company or the umbrella company, and learn a little bit more about why we do what we do, how we do it, um, yeah, and how essentially we make how we plan to make data more meaningful.
Awesome, cool stuff, and that's a cool goal to have. Make data more meaningful. So everyone listening right now, you should check out getsuitable.co, and when it's ready, socachet.com, SOCACHET.com. And I want to thank you, Mr. Anthony, for stopping by the show and sharing some of your stories and sharing your thought process. And I hope it was really helpful to a lot of people listening. So thanks for stopping by today.
Oh, thank you so much, Robert. It was good to talk to you.
Awesome, right back at you. Do you run your online business using WordPress? Did you know the number one reason why WordPress sites get hacked is because of outdated plugins, outdated WordPress, or just flat out not knowing what they have out there? How many times have you created a test site and just let it sit there? You're leaving yourself at risk. Besides that, you're wasting a ton of time whenever WordPress updates or your plugins update. There's a better way. Check out Website Remote, where you can manage all your WordPress sites from one simple to use dashboard. I'm talking about comparing what's on each site, comparing what versions are out there, and most importantly, choosing what you want to update when you want to update it with one single click. This is the way that you need to manage all your WordPress sites, and we have a special just for you being a listener of the Robert Plank Show. Head on over to websiteremote.com/trial. That's websiteremote.com/trial to get your 99-cent trial started today.